have some big stilettos to follow. I've been just heard that delightful poem, and I've been hearing very, very awesome things about the workshop since I walked in the door, and someone didn't know who I was and asked me how to get to one of the workshops. It saddens me that I was unable to attend, for I too need to hear the word and be filled with the Spirit from God-loving women. I am excited to be back here. I was here in 2006, and on any day, at any time, I'm always delighted to be in the house of the Lord with fellow believers. To God be the glory, honor, and the praise for all He has, is, and will divinely manifest in accordance with His perfect will. And it is my desire today that He remove me, my flesh, my lust, my sinful nature, and use me to bring about His will, what He would have you to hear, what He would have you to know when you leave my presence. As I said, it's nice to be a returning guest speaker. Can you ladies in the back hear me? And for those of you who speak, you know anybody can invite you one time. You might know somebody, the real speaker canceled, somebody trying to hook you up. They know you're struggling a little bit, but when they have you back, that means that you received some positive reviews. So I am happy to be back for the 11th annual Status and Role of Women Conference. I bring greetings from my home church, Greater Mount Zion in Austin, Texas, where Pastor Galen Clark is our pastor. Some of you may know him. He's out of E.K. Bailey's church. Y'all know who E.K. Bailey is. And to the Reverend Dr. Booker and First Lady Booker, I thank you for your fine leadership of this great house of worship. And thank you, Sister Doris, for inviting me, extending the invitation, and being so professional and so wonderful in helping me to make the arrangements to drive up here today from Austin. I'm sorry. I'm not crazy. I'm not hearing voices. It's just that goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life. And whenever I make a mistake, whenever they anticipate I'm about to make a mistake, they're here to remind me. So I further need to thank each of you for your presence. I'm aware that you could be anywhere doing anything today, and you've chosen to come here and invest in yourselves really and truly, and for that I am appreciative. And also I have some special guests here today. My daughter-in-law, Leslie, who's rolling her eyes up in her head, Leslie Middendorf Anderson, and her mother, who is visiting from Missouri, Deborah Middendorf. They drove over from Arlington this morning, and I am just ecstatic to have them here. Thank you. Leslie asked me a moment ago, are you going to make me stand up again? I said, no, you know I'm going to show you off wherever we go. I have a daughter-in-law that I want to be around. Yes, I'm going to tell everybody. If I were a learned Bible scholar like your pastor, Dr. Jeremiah Booker, or my mother, Dr. Gladys Jenkins, who is an ordained minister of the gospel in Jefferson, Texas, I would have a clever way to introduce my topic. But as you've heard, I'm a simple woman with simple thoughts. So I'll simply say that I'm here to speak on the importance of encouraging yourself. Now we're going to spell that a little differently today. Encourage yourself. Not E-N, but I-N, the opposite of out, of external. Encourage yourself. My big mama, for the scholarly among you, that's Ebonics for my mother's mother. She is long deceased, but she was a very important part of my upbringing. And we had a special relationship. You have to understand, my big mama, my mother's mother, had 15 children. 9 boys and 6 girls naturally. No epidural, no help, just pushed them out. No drugs, oh my. And I have over 200 cousins, I kid you not. So to put that in context, you understand that getting to sleep in the bed with Big Mama was a big deal. Because that was the only bed in the house, the only non-sofa, non-floor area that was not crowded. Big Mama didn't do crowds, so there was just one chosen child. They got to sleep with Big Mama. And I got to admit, I got more than my fair share of turns, but that's okay. When it was my appointed time, I remember crawling into her bed, and she had a big old tall bed. I don't know why that bed was so high, but I had to crawl up there to get into Big Mama's bed, and I would go to bed on those nights early. Nobody had to tell me. If my bedtime was 8, at 7:30, I was trying to put my little princess pajamas on so I could go get my spot in case anybody was confused about who got to sleep with Big Mama tonight. And Mama would help me. I would climb in the bed, and they put about 15 handmade quilts on top of me if it was winter, because you know Big Mama didn't have central heat, so I'd just be pinned down like that on the pillow, and then they were heavy. I love that feeling, though. I still sleep with cover and don't even need it, burning up, having a hot flash. And I got cover up to here with a little hole because of that. But I remember I could tell when Big Mama got in the bed. Even though I was asleep, she came to bed a couple hours later. Even though I was knocked out fast asleep, when Big Mama got in the bed tilted. And I would just slide over to her side. And when I hit her back, I just kind of landed, and I would, yeah, this is good. And I'll be honest with you, ladies. I came to be honest today. I'm not a minister of the gospel. I'm just a child of God who came here to be honest with you today. And all of my, let's call them sleepovers, nothing has come close to that feeling, that innocence, that wonderful feeling of being in bed with Big Mama. Amen. Now, in retrospect, this is an aside, but I realized Big Mama needed a new mattress. Granted, she was a big woman, 5'10", thick, collard green, neck bone, hot water cornbread, sweet potato pie, socket tummy curves. Because I come from people who believe that your thighs should rub together as you walk across the room. They think I'm anorexic. They're having interventions, bringing me cake and worried about me. Nevertheless, your mattress should not tilt like a seesaw when somebody sits down. That's why your back is hurt. I'm just trying to help you here today in every way I can. You might need to look into that posturepedic. But I digress. Anyway, I was thinking about how much I once enjoyed simple pleasures, how the thrill lingered for years. Even now that I'm in 50's waiting room, I still feel the thrill of those moments, those simple pleasures. But yet, when I go to things more recently in my life, I can leave the event and be in the parking lot and the thrill is gone. So I wondered what had happened, what had transpired between my childhood and now when a few months ago, in June to be exact, I encountered some stumbling blocks, some boulders in my life. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like I'm going through a personal hurricane, my own Katrina. And I don't know if it's the presence of demons or the absence of God. My God. And I understand that he's omnipotent and omniscient, and he doesn't move, and he's there, anxious, ready, willing, and able to have a relationship with me. But sometimes I get so caught up in the horizontal relationships around me, the knives in my back, that I fail fail to focus on the vertical, the most important relationship at all. It's me. It's me breaking the connection, dropping the call. And I don't know what the issue is, but when I was going through this period, one of my sons, not number one, but number two, was having a problem. We won't talk about what it was because he said I talk about him too much. And I said, well, quit having problems. But I know you mothers and aunties and godmothers understand that you are only as happy as your saddest child. And I love my boys and Leslie so much that if I'm in the middle of a speaking engagement, I don't care where I am. If one of them calls, I will put the mic down and I'm deuces. And they are grown, but they will always be that important to me. And so their happiness affects me. So we had that, and then I got this huge bill. You know, when you have a little extra money, all your stuff works. But this was a time when I was asking God to be my STP and keep that tire from leaking and just fix the freezer. I don't know how, but while I'm asleep, while on others there, I call it, Lord, just fix it. Just everything. You know, one or two little things in and of themselves wouldn't bother you so much, but it's just like everywhere you turn. At work, I was being micromanaged to death. And you just heard me 10 minutes, and you know I'm not the type of woman you micromanage. Just let me do my thing, and I'll do a good job. And the bills, and then I had, you know, the worst thing sometimes come from friends. My God. Our friends whom we trust and treasure. And I told a friend something. She was the type of friend where I didn't feel I had to preface it with, don't tell nobody. Yeah. And what did she do but go and tell everybody? And the problem there was me, because I told her something I should have told God. I was struggling. I was struggling, y'all, and like I said, none of these things were all that much by themselves, but when they're all coming at you at once and you're tired and you're not reading your Bible and you feel like you have no support and you get that perfect storm of your life that blurs the horizon and you can't see the sun, and everywhere I turned there was another big wave, a tsunami. I got to where I didn't even want texts anymore because I'm like, what do you want? And I think some of you understand the confusion that occurs when you're going through a time like this. Somebody else here besides me understands how it feels when you get that lonely, sinking feeling, that heaviness. You just can't smile. You can't be happy. No matter how hard you try. You try to reach out to people, and it seems that everyone in your life is too busy to care. And maybe they are, maybe they're not, but you have to believe that because it's less painful than believing they don't care at all. So there you are, feeling all alone. And I give motivational speeches for a living. Done it in different parts of the world, been doing it 20 years, but I'm not too blessed to be stressed. Sometimes things just get me down. I'd like to say that, I can say that, but it's not true. I have some bad days. I have some bad months, some bad nights, and I share them because they need to be shared. People need to know you're not the only one. Jesus. And I got to the point where I just didn't care anymore. I just didn't care about anything. That's not quite the same as wanting to die. It's not being suicidal. It just means I didn't want my life. The life everybody looked at and thought was so grand and so wonderful, not understanding all the different ways I was being pulled and torn. I wanted to live. I just didn't want my life. My life was hard. I wanted an easy life, somebody else's life. And I remember in particular one night going to bed. And I didn't really want to die. But if I didn't wake up the next morning, it would have been all right with me. That's not a good place to be. That's a lonely, horrible place to be. I'm keeping it real, sisters. I'm not trying to depress you, but I know there's a lot of you suffering from spiritual anorexia, and you need to hear this. It's not just you. You need to talk about it. You need to let somebody know. Now, if you want me to say something different, be like the frozen chosen, flying through here, flapping my wings on my way to heaven because I don't have problems. I can make up something for you. just telling you the truth about my journey. I don't have to talk about anybody else because I have my own trials, because I understand that spiritual, emotional, and mental growth begin with realistically looking at your life and the role you play in your own confusion. Not the log in your baby's daddy's eye, but the forest in your face. What did you do? How did baby's daddy get in your life? We have to assess the role we play in our own confusion. So back to me. One night, I'm not talking about y'all, these are other people. One night during my struggles, I was on my knees to pray. Now you would think, being in a severe clinical depression as I was, you would think, and it's interesting how we can operate. We don't faint and fall out and cry till we get home. It's amazing how we can go to work and church and birthday parties and nobody know that we're dying inside. So I was on my knees at night to pray. And I didn't particularly feel it was being all that effective, but Mama said prayer changes things. I hadn't seen anything change. I'd been saying the same prayer over and over, but I'd been trained to pray. Train up a child in the way he should go. So I could not depart from it. Even when it wasn't my inclination, I still had to pray. I can't go to bed without praying or brushing my teeth. And I stood up, I said a little short prayer, probably about like Peter, Lord have mercy. But I prayed. And I stood up to climb into the bed, and my bed's almost as high as Big Mama's. I hope you got a good mattress. I do. I got a good pillow top, firm. You can't even bounce in it, you jump and just land. So as I turned the sheet back, preparing to lie down, I mumbled to myself, this song must be about me having to sleep in the bed I made. Some of you know that old saying, trying to sleep in the bed you made. It means that when you make poor choices, you have to live with the consequences. You reap what you sow, karma. So I'm about to put my head down, and keep in mind I live alone. And I heard a voice whisper, it's not the bed, it's the cover. Lord have mercy. It's not the bed, it's the cover. It's not what's beneath you, what's behind you, what's around you that matters most. It is what or whom is over you. So I came to just simply ask today, who covers you? Now, I don't know how God talks to you. He doesn't have long speeches for me, big paragraphs, because he knows how I am. And I have friends, I have family members who say the Lord told me thus and such, and I don't even know how they remember all of it. They got long stuff they were told. It's not that I don't believe them, but even Moses had to write something down. I don't know, I'm just saying. But that was enough for me. I am certain that on that evening when I sorely needed to hear it, and you have to be listening, God was saying to me, the battle doesn't have to be yours. Why are you fighting so hard? He said, don't you remember I am? You know how bad you have to be identified by a pronoun and a verb? You know how powerful you have to be to just be I am. Forget Madonna, Prince, and Oprah. I am. I am the one who corrects your mistakes. I am the one who will push you beyond the failure. I I am the finisher of your incompletes, your withdrew, your failures. I am. And you can run past the virtual snipers in your life because I have you covered. I am. There's a reason the Bible assures us in Ecclesiastes 3 and 4 that there is a season for every emotion. I love a merry heart, good in Proverbs. But there's also a time to weep and a time to mourn. There's nothing wrong with you for being sad sometimes. Staying sad is the problem. Falling down and not getting up is the problem. Spending 3 hours turned to the east, curled up in your bed, getting up, going to the bathroom, and then turning to the west for 3 hours is the problem. You have to get up. Over and over in the Bible, we see men and women of God, great men and women of faith who had emotional meltdowns. Over and over. And we see many of those same people, if you keep reading the Bible, that's another topic. If you keep reading, you'll see many of them a few chapters later rise again. And God uses them. The last time I was here, I talked about how other people's behavior. In 2006, we were at Embassy Suites, I think. I talked about how other people's behavior can cause us to become ill. But we have to persevere and be strong, unchanging, like steel, not affected by the cold waves of the heat. We have to remain constant. But today I'm going to talk about a couple of ways, if you don't mind, that we make ourselves sick. I like to call it wellish behavior. Not hellish, but wellish, wellish behavior. I think you all know the story of the Samaritan woman in the book of John who encountered Jesus. Should have been an easy encounter. He just asked her for some water. All she had to do was give him some water. But no, as we do, she started talking. Telling Jesus about how Samaritans and Jews don't have anything to do with each other. Insulting him, asking him if he thought he was greater than Jacob. And she ended up confessing, because a conversation got started. There was a dialogue. She ended up confessing she was shacking up after being married 5 times. Jesus knows who we are. And if we just talk to him, we can seek a place of redemption. He already knows what we did. And he'll still talk to us. Jesus will talk to anybody. We don't have to inform him about our sins. I just wonder how many times we behave like this. God tells us to do something simple, and we start telling him what's wrong with his request, while we're not qualified to do it, how we're not educated enough, articulate enough, sophisticated enough for that ministry, for that role, for that man. Stoning ourselves, insulting the Maker. There are 2 ways we block our blessings. First, we lose some races because we keep looking back. I don't know if any of you have ever run track or even watched a little one run. The winner's always looking forward. The person who finishes the race is always looking forward, but this is how we run. Stumbling, falling, getting out of our lane. It's called analysis paralysis. And it occurs because we don't want to fail. That's a normal fear. But success is not achieved without boldness, without taking some risk. Certainly, healthy caution is in order. I'm not telling you to climb up on top and jump off of the roof, not that type of thing. But for example, when driving, when I was driving here today, coming up 35, a couple of times I needed to change lanes. I turned on my blinker. I looked in the rearview mirror. I looked in the side mirror. I changed lanes. But how many of you have been in the car with someone who turns their blinker on? 2 miles later, you still haven't changed lanes. They look They look, they check. They're over their shoulder. They're complaining the seat belt is tight. They have to turn the radio down and change lanes. Trying to get the courage to move over. Thinking about it, overthinking it. Or they simply keep talking about it until you want to scream and throw the door open and jump out of the car. If you're always worrying about decisions, trying to predict the future that none of us know, you become like a lovely piece of antique furniture. Nice to look at, but the feet don't move. You cannot anticipate everything. Form committees, do your research, make plans, make contingency plans, say a prayer, and then do something. Stop talking about it and do about it. I'm going to tell you what your friends won't tell you. Quit talking about your book until you've written a chapter. Okay? I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. 10 years. You've been going to write a book. Until you write a chapter, an outline, and I am not talking about the title. Get off of that. You'll come up with the title later. Then say something else about your book. Until you enroll in a class, let's not hear anymore about how you need to go back to school. Right. Do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying do it. It's time. It's time to stop talking about it. Change yourself. Change the world. Have faith in yourself. And that is taking action, not just talking about it. The sister to worrying about the future is preoccupation with the past. I call it premature aging syndrome. Many of us spend way too much time remembering the things we should forget. Wasted time embracing the moments we regret. However, while I am aware that forgetting all of the past condemns you to repeating it, there's a need for God's people to have some selective amnesia. To let go of those paralyzing parts of your past that rob you of your confidence and keep you from enrolling you in that class. Imagine, if you will, your complete history of flops, failures, mistakes, stuff they still tease you about when you go back for the class reunion. Imagine all of it. Just bring it all out and put it in a wheelbarrow. Remember wheelbarrows, a cart, wheel in the front, some handles in the back for transporting things? Get it out of the closet. Bring it on out. Put it right there. And what I'm going to suggest you do is sift through it and discard the leftover emotions, the bitterness, the anger, the hate, and keep the lessons learned. That's all you need, the knowledge. So here you are, and you have two options. You can pull the wheelbarrow behind you. You're laughing because that's not a good way to transport things. If it were, we'd do our groceries like that. You don't see anybody in HEB like this. Or you can push it in front of you where you can see it. Keep it foremost in your mind, but not always on your mind. Pulling it is awkward, painful, it slows you down. If that was effective, we'd use it for everything. But when you have it right there in front of you, at a glance, you can see what's in it. That is wisdom. Don't stare at it. You don't stare at your groceries. You know what's in there. Just look. If a man comes up and he seems similar to something in your wheelbarrow, pass him by. Because on your way to wonderful, you need to notice if you keep putting the same mistakes in your wheelbarrow. Dead-end projects, dead-end arguments. Quit arguing with your sister about that. You know she's not going to change her mind. Let it go. Quit putting that argument in your wheelbarrow. Dead-end relationships. You don't buy bad men 3 for 1. If it's going to overflow, wasn't different. I thought it was something else. But anyway. Let it be with new errors. If you're going to put something in there, let it be new errors, new efforts, new opportunities that you try. Not the same old thing. That's plowing the ocean and expecting different results. Don't let it be 20 pink slips because you can't get your night owl channel surfing behind up and to work on time every day. That's not your boss's fault. No. That is your fault. And the lesson there is you need a night job. Okay, you are not a morning person. That's not for you. Quit applying for those. You don't need that shift. As I close, when you look in that wheelbarrow and see enough skeletons from your past to build a dinosaur, remember Jesus defended another woman who was about to be stoned for adultery. He told her enemies, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Now, typically when I hear ministers talk about this scripture and this word, they talk about how Jesus was kind of quiet. He was kneeled down, drawing in the ground. And I'm over my time a little bit. I'm sorry, but I got to talk to you. They say he was kind of quiet, but I can picture Jesus like I want to. So when I think about that, when my enemies bring me before the Lord and say, what you gonna do about her? I picture Jesus standing up kind of swole like a G. You know, that man we all want. Say something. Say something. You stay back there. I got this. Protecting me. Protecting me with his blood, with his grace, saying, it's all right, I got you. And Hezekiah, I know you're not over there with a stone. Do you want me to tell what happened about 8 o'clock last night? That's what I thought. Oh, Jeremiah, no. Yeah, I know you're leaving. I know. Right. Walk away. Step away from the sinful woman. That's how I see him. Covering me, protecting me, loving me, looking beyond my faults and seeing my needs. And he'll do the same for you. Do you really think, when you don't forgive yourself, and this is something I learned, do you really think God holds grudges? My God. Do you honestly think he holds grudges, that he does not throw your sins into the sea of forgetfulness? Jesus was crucified, brutally, horribly killed, died on a cross. Jesus was crucified. What have you done that's worse than a dead Jesus? That's how much he loves us. That's how much he loves us. Whatever it was, wherever it was, you should be a new person now. You should be washed in the blood. You've asked for forgiveness. Let it go. Let it go. Move forward into your divine purpose that's in the past. Leave it there. Stop persecuting yourself. Stop persecuting each other. Let's be one in love. Be encouraged. Jesus sacrificed for you and for me, so goodness and mercy can follow us all the days of our lives, and we will dwell in the house of the Lord. How long? Forever and ever. Amen.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast featuring best-selling author, Doctor of Dental Surgery, and motivational speaker, Monica Dr. Mo Anderson. Educational and entertaining, Dr. Mo Anderson has the right prescription for success. To learn more about Dr. Mo or have her speak to your corporate, civic, or student group, visit her online at drmoeanderson.com or on Twitter at drmoeanderson.